Evasive entrepreneurship is defined as a profit-driven market business activity aimed at evading the current institutional framework through the use of innovations to exploit conflicts in that structure. Excessive government regulations can create barriers to entry and hinder economic growth. These regulations are often impose high cost, bureaucratic hurdles, and legal complexities on entrepreneurs, making it difficult for them to start and operate businesses in a traditional or compliant manner. The form of entrepreneurship activity seeks to circumvent burdensome government laws and restrictions. For example, in South Africa, the informal sector, more especially the street selling industry, can be used as an illustration of evasive entrepreneurship. Regulations and licensing requirements control formal enterprises, including street sellers in many South African cities and townships. These rules frequently involve steep fines, complex documentation, and constrained designated vending locations. Another illustrative example is the minibus taxi industry, an industry which found a gap in transport planning in the formation of policy. The taxi industry has adopted creative and innovative strategies to bypass the laws that were abiding by the apartheid government. The people in the urban peripherals attempted to close the gap between cities and urban peripherals, linking them to more economic opportunities. The industry continues to bypass the law and serve the urban poor with affordable transportation, regardless of the government attempts of formalizing it. This means that the industry would have to operate as a registered business in formal economy and comply with the regulatory requirements of operating a business. This include registering of workers and adhering to formal labor practices, including paying taxes, amongst others. For example, the R204 could be applied as a law for social protection towards the drivers. The motivation of an individual to make an effort to better their life is not through social wealth only, but through directions of human laws. Thus, acting against the policy is the obstruction of majority of business owners undergo. Whether it is through opposing the zoning regulations, this is relative to the home-based businesses, which act against zoning regulations that have been imposed. As Valverde states that the earth has become a collection of land uses that are controlled by urban experts. Understanding the dynamics of power between formal institutions and the informal economic actors can shed light on the struggles and negotiations that take place in urban governance. Government institutions like intermediary institutions that efficiently connect the buyers and sellers in the marketplace. In this case, it would be between the home-based owners and urban planners or policymakers. Understanding of urban governance and entrepreneurship beyond conventional frameworks. It is important as bureaucrats to understand that these ways of entrepreneurship give us ideas on how to improve policy as much as change is driven by technological organizations or innovations introduced by entrepreneurs. Urban policies have inconsistencies that are open to multiple interpretations. That is because of context. People would rather locate where the rules are less binding or enforced, such as informal settlements or townships. Policymakers can make more informed decisions regarding their regulatory frameworks, urban governance, and entrepreneurship. They can work towards creating an environment that encourages innovation, supports economic development, and ensures inclusivity for all entrepreneurs, including those engaged in invasive entrepreneurship or informal economic activities. In this regard, policymakers can make more informed decisions regarding regulatory frameworks, urban governance, and entrepreneurship. They can work towards creating an environment that encourages innovation, supports economic development, and ensures inclusivity for all entrepreneurs, including those engaged in invasive entrepreneurship or informal economic activities. This is true. Regulation and entrepreneurship must be balanced since too many rules can limit entrance and stifle innovation. The ideal balance between regulation and entrepreneurship should be sought after by policymakers. They should take into account the unintended repercussions of rules and make sure that they do not disproportionately burden business owners, notably in terms of expenses, bureaucracy, and legal complications. Secondly, understanding informal economies. As street vendors, evasive entrepreneurship are examples of economies that fill gaps and limits of official regulatory frameworks. Policymakers should be aware of the value of informal economic activities and work to comprehend their dynamics and contributions to the regional economy. They can look into how to do this while resolving any problems that might arise, such as competition and congestion. Thirdly, inclusion and power dynamics. Power dynamics exist between the formal institutions and a variety of actors, including entrepreneurs and urban government. Policymakers should take into account the viewpoints and objectives of various stakeholders, including those involved in shady businesses or an unofficial economic activity. In particular, the marginalized actors from the informal sector should be allowed to meaningfully participate in inclusive governance processes. Embracing alternative perspectives. Policymakers should challenge conventional assumptions and adopt alternative perspectives when approaching work, urban governance, and entrepreneurship. Valvera's work highlights the value of pre-modern ways of seeing and understanding cities. Similarly, policymakers can benefit from considering innovative, adaptive, and non-traditional approaches to entrepreneurship and regulatory frameworks.